Barrister, thank you so much for joining us on the news this afternoon. Now, from a legal standpoint, what are the implications of retaining manual coalition as a backup alongside electronic transmission of results? Please unmute your mic, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I said Nigeria has been taken so many years back from the standpoint of the benchmarks of a good election. We are discussing transparency, which is a very big hallmark. If you remember, during the petitions at the Supreme Court after the 2023 elections, the issue of transparency, the electronic transmission, and the posting on IRF came up strongly. And of course, the Supreme Court stated that it was not made mandatory by the Electoral Act that governed that election. And thereafter, the National Assembly went around Nigeria, had hearings that they wanted to amend the Electoral Act. And it came out strongly that in the amendment, they should take cognizance of the decision of the Supreme Court because you amend the law because of a mischief that exists. So you cure that mischief. So it's surprising that after going around and spending taxpayers' money and taxpayers saying, do it electronically, transmit the results so that the whole process is transparent, use IRF, then we still came back to the position of this fallback situation, which is contradicting the fact that NCC and the telecommunication companies have said that there are hardly any part of Nigeria where they don't have coverage. So it has set it back. Those who want to continue rigging have won. You can see they are outnumbered because they are in the majority in the ruling party. And it's a big shame that Nigeria is still discussing this kind of fundamentals in elections. And unfortunately, INEC is asking for almost $1 trillion to organize an election that may end up with litigations upon litigations, wasting taxpayers' time and money. So it's a very big shame. If they simply don't want to run elections, they can as well declare themselves the ruling party as having been elected, and so that they don't waste our resources, because it will be a huge waste to spend $1 trillion simply on elections that are bound to be rigged.
Now, in your own opinion, do you think Clause 60, which prioritizes Form EC8A when electronic transmission fails, could open loopholes for electoral disputes?
That's what I'm saying. Not even electoral disputes. It will open loopholes for the ruling party, particularly to rig elections, maybe with the support, with or without the support of INEC. Because everybody can claim that the electronic system failed when it did not fail. So you still give those forms which can be altered in the course of transporting it from point A to point B, and the election will be manipulated. So what did we gain? What lessons did we learn from the 2023 failure? There must be lessons learned. If we didn't learn a lesson and we are still at the same point, then it's an unfortunate scenario.
Yes. And then now let's look at the walkout. How does the walkout by opposition lawmakers reflect on Nigeria's democratic processes and legislative accountability?
They were there when it was counted in the Senate. They had only 15 members as against 55 from the ruling party. So even if they walked out later, it's a form of protest to say we are not part of this. And I think in civil society, we should provide a hall of honor for those who stood their grounds in the public interest, and also a hall of infamy and a book of shame, a black book, for those who simply went against the grain of democracy, because this is more or less endorsing a coup. What's the difference between somebody who shoots his way to power and somebody who rigs an election? They are all usurpers. They are all stopping the votes from counting. So as far as I'm concerned, it is up to us to name and shame them and to continue calling them out in the exercise of our freedom of speech and the right to promote democratic systems.
Now, civil society and protesters, including Oby, have accused lawmakers of diluting safeguards. How serious are these claims legally and politically?
Yes, of course. The power to make laws is not a power to enact laws that interest the lawmakers alone or their political party. It is a power to make laws on behalf of over 200 million Nigerians who are yearning for free and fair elections. So what they have done is to tell us that they are not my representatives. They don't represent me. They represent themselves. Despite the fact that they spend hundreds of billions of taxpayers' money every year, and they are not accountable to anybody. Just 2 days ago on Monday, the tax authorities were calling me that they want to come for a tax audit in my office. And I was wondering, what do I produce for them to come to a tax audit? Yet the same people who manage my tax money don't want me to have a say in the most fundamental fact of determining who is going to represent me, either in the Senate House of Representatives, State House of Assembly, or even as the President of the Federal Republic. So it's a very sad and unfortunate scenario.
Yes. And now, let's look at the current situation. Can the current compromise between electronic and manual transmissions realistically protect the integrity of the 2027 elections? I know you gave us a bit of an answer, but can you please go a bit more in detail?
Yes, what I'm saying in essence is that there are a lot of loopholes to be exploited by those who want to rig. They will all claim electronic transmission is impossible. So in between the polling booth and where they put it up at the ward or local government level, opportunities for the vote to be tampered with. In between that, even if it's a state election or a federal election, state collation center, federal collation center, opportunities for tampering exist. And this tampering was done in 2023. Of course, you saw in the IRF of Rivers State, the difference between the postings and the actual results and what was eventually announced. So it is as good as saying, whoever has access to power as president, who appoints the Electoral Commission, or those in the Electoral Commission, if they feel inclined one way or the other, or the security agencies, and of course, whatever they do to manipulate will be endorsed by the court. So he's telling us, just simply walk away and allow them to do what they want to do. That's the message. I mean, they were busy tear-gassing people who were expressing their right to civic participation. They were tear-gassed by the police. And what does that tell you about our democracy? It tells us that we are now in a dictatorship, not a democracy.
Barrister, thank you so much for your insight and your time.